Lily Carter had always prided herself on being a strong, independent woman. She had raised her son, Ethan, alone ever since her marriage had ended, and though it had been tough, she had made it work. She had a steady job as a customer service representative for a local insurance company, and Ethan, now 17, was the light of her life. Every decision she made, every sacrifice, had been for him. But despite all her efforts, there was one thing she couldn't control: the judgment of others. The neighborhood was quiet. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business. Lily had moved here when Ethan was just a baby, hoping for a fresh start away from the gossip-filled streets of the city. The houses were modest, the lawns meticulously mowed, and the air smelled of freshly baked bread from the local bakery. But despite the outward calm, there was always an underlying tension in the air when it came to her. It wasn't that people outrightly said anything to her face, but the whispers were unmistakable. "She's raising that boy all on her own," they'd murmur behind closed doors, or sometimes, they'd exchange knowing glances when Lily passed by. The judgmental stares from some of the women in the neighborhood always made Lily uncomfortable, but she held her head high, not letting it affect her too much. However, lately, the whispers had grown louder. It had started with Mrs. Deborah Johnson, the outspoken woman who lived 2 doors down. Mrs. Johnson was quick to criticize anyone she thought was stepping out of line, and being a single mother seemed to be one of her greatest points of disdain. It was a typical afternoon when it happened. Lily was standing at the mailbox, her fingers lightly grazing the letters as she sifted through the pile of bills and ads. She heard the familiar rustle of feet behind her, and when she turned, she found Mrs. Johnson standing at her driveway, arms crossed, her lips pursed in disapproval. "Are you really sure it's a good idea to let Ethan spend so much time with his friends these days?" Mrs. Johnson asked, her tone dripping with judgment. Lily's stomach tightened. "Ethan is a good kid, Mrs. Johnson," she said, trying to remain calm. "He's getting ready for college and he needs time with his peers." Mrs. Johnson murmured, "Just make sure he's not getting into trouble. Boys need a strong father figure, you know." Her eyes flicked over to Ethan, who had just come out of the house to grab the trash bins. He was tall for his age, with broad shoulders that seemed to carry the weight of responsibility even though he was still a teenager. Mrs. Johnson's eyes narrowed as she observed him. "I don't know if he can be everything a man needs without a father around. He needs someone to teach him the ropes. It's a tough world out there." Lily's heart sank. She had heard these words countless times before, but it never made them any easier to hear. There were moments when she wished the world would just see her as more than a label, just another single mother struggling to make it, to raise her son right. But instead, she was always defined by her circumstances. "Thank you for your concern," Lily replied, her voice cold, but her smile was tight. "But Ethan is fine." Mrs. Johnson didn't seem to pick up on the hint. "I just hope you're not pushing him too hard. He needs a steady hand. You might want to think about the long-term impact of raising him alone." And with that, Mrs. Johnson turned on her heel and headed back to her house. Lily stood there for a moment, her hands gripping the edges of the mailbox as the words settled into her mind. Her stomach churned as she thought about how Ethan was growing up, how he was old enough to understand the weight of these words, the way the world saw him because of the choices she had made. Would this affect him? Would he resent her for not having a father in his life? "Ethan," she called out to him, trying to keep the tremble from her voice. He turned, his face lighting up with that easy, boyish grin. "Yeah, Mom." Lily walked toward him, trying to push the knot in her chest away. She didn't want him to know how much Mrs. Johnson's words had hurt her. He had enough on his plate, dealing with school and his future. But still, a part of her worried, was she doing enough for him? Was she enough? As Ethan took the trash bins from her and carried them down the driveway, she realized how much he had grown, how capable he was. Perhaps more than anything, he had grown into the man he needed to be for her. She had always hoped he would have a strong sense of self, and maybe, just maybe, this neighborhood, this place filled with quiet judgments, couldn't take that from him. "You good, Mom?" Ethan asked as he looked back at her, noticing her silence. Lily nodded, her smile returning, even if a bit shaky. "Yeah, I'm good, sweetheart. Just thinking." As Ethan walked into the house, Lily took one last look at Mrs. Johnson's house, a house that seemed so full of judgment. She was determined not to let those thoughts infect her or Ethan any longer. Her son had become the strength she needed when it felt like the world was trying to break her down. And no matter what anyone said, she would protect him no matter what. That was the moment Lily realized Ethan wasn't just growing up. He was growing into someone she could depend on, someone who would always have her back, just as she had always had his. And that thought filled her heart with a warmth that made all the harsh words feel insignificant. Lily stepped inside and closed the door behind her, trying to shake off the tension that had built up in her chest. The house was quiet, just the hum of the refrigerator and the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. She felt her heart race as she kicked off her shoes and headed into the kitchen, where Ethan was already unpacking his backpack. "How was school today?" she asked, forcing her voice to sound casual. Ethan looked up, offering her a warm smile. "It was good. We're getting ready for finals next week, so it's a bit stressful. But I'm managing." He set his backpack down on the kitchen table, then grabbed an apple from the fruit bowl. He took a bite and raised an eyebrow. "What's wrong, Mom? You look like you're thinking about something." Lily hesitated for a moment, trying to push the conversation about Mrs. Johnson from her mind. But the worry in Ethan's eyes made her realize that she couldn't keep it to herself. She didn't want him to see how much the words of their neighbors affected her, but Ethan wasn't a child anymore. He was perceptive, maybe even more than she wanted him to be. Mrs. Johnson was just saying some things today, Lily started, her voice quiet. "She made some comments about you, about how you're growing up without a father, and how tough it is for boys without a strong male role model." Ethan froze, the apple halfway to his mouth. He put it down and looked at her, his brow furrowed. "What did she say exactly?" Lily sighed and ran a hand through her hair. "She said that you might have trouble in the future because you don't have a father figure in your life, that it's harder for boys like you." Her voice wavered slightly as she added, "She made it sound like I haven't done enough, like I'm somehow failing you." Ethan took a deep breath, then walked over to her. He placed his hands on her shoulders and looked her squarely in the eyes. "Mom, I'm not some project or problem to be fixed. I'm fine. I don't need anyone to tell me what I need." Lily's throat tightened at his words. "I know, but it hurts to hear people say those things. It's not easy, you know, when everyone thinks you're not doing enough, even when you try your best." Ethan smiled softly, the kind of smile that reminded her of when he was little, offering comfort in the simplest ways. "Mom, you've done more than enough. You've always been there for me. Always made sure I had what I needed. I don't need anyone else to tell me what's right for me, especially not someone like Mrs. Johnson." Lily's heart swelled with pride as she looked at her son. He had grown into such a strong, confident young man. The kind of man who didn't need to prove himself to anyone, who had learned to stand up for himself and the people he loved. In that moment, Lily realized something that had been nagging at the back of her mind for so long. She hadn't failed him. She had helped raise him into someone capable of facing the world, with or without a father. "I'm proud of you," she said softly, her voice full of emotion. "I'm so proud of the person you've become." Ethan pulled her into a hug, his arms wrapping around her tightly. "I'm proud of you too, Mom. You've been my rock." Lily held him close, savoring the feeling of his strength, both physical and emotional. The world could criticize her all it wanted, but in that moment, with Ethan in her arms, she knew she had done something right. Her son was strong, not because of what he lacked, but because of the love and support she had given him all these years. They stood there for a while, just holding each other. The world outside could be harsh and unforgiving, but inside their little house, they had each other. And that, Lily realized, was enough. As the evening drew on, they sat down to dinner together, sharing stories of their day, laughing about small things, and enjoying the quiet peace that only came from being in the presence of someone you trusted completely. Lily could feel the weight of the world begin to lift off her shoulders. She didn't need anyone's approval to know that she was a good mother. She didn't need to explain herself to Mrs. Johnson or anyone else. In that moment, Lily knew that she and Ethan would face whatever came their way together, strong and unbreakable. And as they finished dinner, Ethan glanced at her with a grin. "Hey, Mom, I've been thinking. Maybe next weekend, we can have a movie night. Just the two of us. What do you think?" Lily chuckled, the sound light and full of warmth. "I'd like that," she said, knowing that no matter what happened outside these walls, her bond with Ethan would always be the one thing that mattered most. The world outside might try to tear them down, but inside, they had built a fortress of love and resilience that nothing could ever break. The following days passed in a quiet rhythm, the world outside continuing with its usual bustle, but inside their home, things felt different. The subtle weight of Mrs. Johnson's words had lingered in Lily's mind for a while, but Ethan's calm reassurance had given her a new sense of perspective. She was no longer consumed by the need to prove herself to others. What mattered most was the love and respect between her and Ethan. One morning, as Lily prepared for work, she heard a knock at the door. She froze for a moment. Knocks at this hour were rare, especially on a weekday. She walked cautiously to the door and peeked through the peephole. To her surprise, it was Mrs. Deborah Johnson standing there, holding a small package wrapped in plain brown paper. Lily opened the door slowly, her eyes wary but polite. "Yes, Mrs. Johnson? Can I help you?" Mrs. Johnson looked a little uncomfortable, standing there on the doorstep with a hesitant expression. I wanted to apologize for my words the other day. I didn't mean to upset you or make you feel like you weren't doing a good job with Ethan." She held out the small package. "This is for you and Ethan. I thought you might like it." Lily blinked, taken aback by the unexpected gesture. She hadn't expected an apology from Mrs. Johnson, not after all the times she'd been the subject of quiet judgment. It was strange, almost unsettling, to see her now, standing there with a genuine look of regret. "Thank you," Lily said slowly, taking the package from Mrs. Johnson's hands. She hesitated for a moment, then offered a small smile. "I appreciate it. That's very kind of you." Mrs. Johnson shifted on her feet, her gaze dropping to the ground for a moment before she met Lily's eyes again. "I've been thinking a lot about what I said. I know I don't have all the answers, and I'm sorry for making you feel less than. Raising a child, especially a son, isn't easy. I've seen how hard you've worked to make sure Ethan has everything he needs." She paused, swallowing hard. I didn't realize how much judgment I was passing until I saw how Ethan stood up for you. He's a good kid, and I know you've done your best." Lily felt the tension in her shoulders release. Mrs. Johnson's apology, though awkward, felt sincere. It wasn't something she'd expected, and perhaps that made it all the more meaningful. She looked at Mrs. Johnson, then at the small package in her hands. "Thank you for saying that. It means more than you know." For a brief moment, the two women simply stood there in silence, the weight of their past interactions seeming to dissolve in the cool morning air. It wasn't a grand resolution, but it was enough. Lily realized that even though the world could be harsh and full of unwarranted criticism, The act of owning up to one's mistakes and showing kindness, no matter how late it came, had the power to change things. Mrs. Johnson gave a slight nod, her expression softening. I'll leave you to it then. Take care, Lily. You too, Mrs. Johnson, Lily said, watching as the older woman turned and walked away down the street. The apology, though unexpected, was a small victory, and it had opened a door to something Lily hadn't expected, the possibility of real understanding. Later that evening, when Ethan came home from school, Lily was waiting for him in the living room, the package from Mrs. Johnson sitting on the coffee table between them. She didn't say anything at first, but Ethan noticed the quiet smile on her face. What's that? Ethan asked, his voice tinged with curiosity. Lily picked up the package and handed it to him. Mrs. Johnson came by today. She apologized for the way she spoke to us the other day. Ethan raised an eyebrow, surprised. She did. Lily nodded, her smile widening. She did. And she gave us this. Ethan slowly unwrapped the package, revealing a small wooden box, polished to a soft sheen. Inside the box were two small, hand-carved figurines, a mother and a child, intricately detailed and crafted with care. Wow, Ethan said softly, holding the figurines up to the light. It's beautiful. Lily looked at the figurines, her heart swelling. It was a simple gift, but one that spoke volumes. It is, she agreed. And it means a lot. They sat in silence for a moment, just taking in the quiet beauty of the gift and the strange feeling that had settled in their home, a sense of peace, of reconciliation, even if it came from an unexpected place. I guess people can change, huh? Ethan said thoughtfully, breaking the silence. Lily chuckled softly, her eyes meeting his. I guess they can. As the evening went on, the tension that had hung over their house for weeks slowly melted away. Lily found herself looking at Ethan with a new sense of pride, not just because of how he stood up for her, but because of how he had grown into someone who could see the good in others, even when they had been unkind. They spent the rest of the night talking, laughing, and enjoying the peace that had settled over them. Lily realized that the world, with all its criticisms and judgments, couldn't touch what they had built together. No one could break the bond they shared. And no matter what anyone else said, that was all that mattered. The days that followed were filled with a sense of quiet contentment. Lily couldn't quite shake the feeling of change that lingered in the air. Mrs. Johnson's unexpected apology, while small, had unlocked something in her, a reminder that not everything had to be a battle. The world around them could be harsh, yes, but there was also room for kindness, for growth, for forgiveness. And with Ethan by her side, Lily felt stronger than ever. The next few weeks flew by with school projects, work commitments, and the usual day-to-day activities. But every time Lily looked at Ethan, her heart swelled with pride. He was finishing up his final year of high school, preparing for the next chapter of his life, and Lily couldn't help but feel a bittersweet sense of joy. Her son was becoming a man, independent, thoughtful, and strong. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, Ethan spoke up with a hint of excitement in his voice. Mom, I've been thinking about my future. I've been looking at a few colleges, and I think I've decided on one. I want to go to UC Berkeley. It's far, but I think it's the right place for me. Lily put her fork down, her heart skipping a beat. UC Berkeley was miles away, and the thought of Ethan leaving for college left her with a mix of pride and sadness. She had known this day was coming, but the reality of it was still overwhelming. That's great, Ethan, she said, her voice soft but filled with love. I'm really proud of you. Ethan smiled, his eyes sparkling with excitement. I've been thinking about it for a while. It's a big step, but I feel ready for it. Lily reached across the table and squeezed his hand, her emotions rising as she looked at him. You've always been ready for anything, sweetheart. I know you'll do great things. He grinned and leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. I couldn't have gotten this far without you, though. You've been there for me through everything. You're the reason I'm ready for this. You showed me how to be strong even when things were tough. Lily felt a lump form in her throat. She had spent so many years worrying about whether she was doing enough for him, if she was raising him right. But in this moment, she realized that perhaps all the struggles, all the sacrifices, had shaped him into someone capable of chasing his dreams with confidence and determination. And maybe that was enough. You've grown into an amazing young man, Lily said, her voice thick with emotion. And no matter where you go, no matter what you do, I'll always be here for you. Always. Ethan smiled, a soft, knowing smile that seemed to say everything he hadn't put into words. I know, Mom. I know. The next few weeks were a blur of packing, planning, and final goodbyes. Lily watched with a mixture of pride and sadness as Ethan prepared for his departure. She knew this was a new chapter for both of them, but it was still hard to let go. It was hard to think of her son, her little boy, as someone who would soon be living on his own, making his own choices, forging his own path. But as the day of Ethan's departure grew closer, Lily found herself thinking about all they had been through together. The loneliness she had felt as a single mother, the judgment from others, the sacrifices she had made, everything had led her here. To this moment where she could proudly send her son off into the world, knowing he was ready for it. The day Ethan left, Lily stood on the doorstep, holding back tears as she hugged him one last time before he got into the car with his suitcase. I love you, Mom, Ethan said, his voice warm and sincere. I love you too, sweetheart, Lily replied, her voice breaking slightly. I'll miss you so much, but I know you'll do amazing things. I'm proud of you. As the car pulled away, Lily stood there, watching him go. A part of her wanted to run after him, to hold him just a little longer. But she knew this was how it had to be. Ethan was ready for the world, and Lily was ready for the next chapter of her life. Too. It would be different, yes, but it was also the beginning of something new. As she walked back into the house, Lily felt a sense of peace. The world outside could be full of judgment, full of expectations, but none of that mattered anymore. She had raised a strong, independent young man, and nothing could take that away. She had given him the strength to face whatever life threw his way, and in doing so, she had found her own strength as well. Later that night, after the house had grown quiet, Lily sat on the couch with the small wooden box from Mrs. Johnson still sitting on the coffee table. She ran her fingers over the smooth carvings of the mother and child figures. It was a simple gift, but it had come to represent so much more. It was a symbol of the journey they had shared, of the love and resilience that had shaped both her and Ethan into who they were. With a soft smile, Lily closed her eyes and let out a long breath. She had done it. They had done it. And no matter what came next, she knew that she and Ethan would continue to face the world together, strong, proud, and unbreakable. And as the moonlight spilled through the window, she felt ready for whatever the future held. The days after Ethan left were quiet, almost too quiet. Lily found herself drifting between the old, familiar routines that had once felt so full of purpose and the new reality of an empty house. She woke up to the silence that lingered in every room. The echo of Ethan's laughter now absent from the walls. At first, it felt strange, like she was walking through a world that no longer fit her, but she knew that this was the next phase of her life. And though it was difficult, she understood that it was a necessary part of the journey. The first week after Ethan left was the hardest. Lily threw herself into work, trying to distract herself from the aching emptiness in her heart. She still kept in touch with him through texts and quick calls, but it wasn't the same as seeing him every day. She missed his presence, his energy, the way he would always come to her for advice or simply sit with her in comfortable silence. One evening, as she sat down to eat dinner alone, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, her heart skipping a beat when she saw Ethan's name flashing on the screen. She quickly picked up the phone. "Hey, sweetheart," she answered, her voice warm and full of longing. "Hey, Mom." Ethan's voice came through, and for a moment, it felt like he was still right there with her. "I just wanted to check in. How's everything going?" Lily smiled, leaning back in her chair. "It's been quiet around here," she admitted. "I miss you, but I'm glad to hear your voice." Ethan chuckled lightly. "I miss you too. It's kind of weird here. Everyone's so busy with classes and stuff, but it doesn't feel the same without you around." "I'm glad you're adjusting, though," Lily said. "You'll make some great friends. And I know you're going to do amazing things there." "Yeah, I'm trying. I already joined a couple of clubs. I'm staying busy." There was a brief pause before Ethan added, "I got my first project back today. Got an A on it." Lily's heart swelled with pride. "See? I told you. You've got this." Her voice softened, a mother's pride and love flowing through her words. "I'm so proud of you, Ethan. I knew you'd do well." Ethan's voice grew quieter, more reflective. "Thanks, Mom. It feels good to know you're proud. It's been a lot of work, but I'm ready for it. I wanted you to know that you're still here with me, even if we're far apart." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes, and she quickly blinked them away. She hadn't expected to feel so emotional talking to him, but it was a feeling she couldn't suppress. "I'm always with you, Ethan. In your heart and in everything you do. I'll always be here, cheering you on, no matter where you are." "Yeah, I know," he said softly. "And I'm here for you too. You've always been my biggest support. Just because I'm far away doesn't mean I won't be thinking about you every day." Lily wiped away a stray tear and smiled through the emotion. "I love you, Ethan. So much. I love you too, Mom. More than you know." The conversation continued for a few more minutes, filled with lighthearted chatter about school and daily life, before Ethan finally had to go. "I've got to run to class now," he said, "but I'll call again soon, okay?" "Of course," Lily replied, her voice steady, though her heart was full. "Take care, sweetheart. I'm proud of you." After hanging up, Lily sat quietly for a moment, letting the warmth of the conversation wash over her. It felt good to hear his voice, to know that despite the distance, they were still connected in ways that couldn't be broken. She had raised him to be independent, strong, and capable, and now, as she sat in her quiet house, she realized how much he had grown. He was ready for the world, and she had done her part. The next few days were a bit easier. Lily began filling the silence with small changes. She started a new hobby, painting, something she had always wanted to try but never had time for. The strokes of color on canvas became her way of expressing everything that had been bottled up inside her over the years. The process was therapeutic, and for the first time in a long while, she found joy in creating something for herself. She also started taking walks in the evenings, something she hadn't done in years. It gave her a chance to clear her head, to breathe in the fresh air, and to appreciate the quiet moments that now filled her life. She noticed small things, the way the streetlights flickered on as dusk fell, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind, the smile of a neighbor she hadn't spoken to in a while. Life, though quieter now, still had its simple pleasures. One afternoon, after a particularly long day at work, Lily sat in the living room with a cup of tea, looking out the window at the setting sun. She hadn't realized how much she had missed this, just sitting in silence, reflecting on everything that had happened and everything still to come. She was proud of Ethan, proud of herself, and proud of the life they had built together. And then, a knock at the door broke the silence. Lily rose, her heart still light from the conversation with Ethan, and opened the door. To her surprise, standing on the other side was Sarah Miller, the friendly neighbor from down the street. Sarah smiled warmly at her. "Hey, Lily. I was wondering if you'd like to join me for a cup of coffee. I've been meaning to catch up, and I thought you might like some company. Lily smiled back, a genuine warmth filling her heart. That sounds wonderful, Sarah. I'd love to. As they sat down together on the porch, sipping coffee and chatting about everything from books to local news, Lily realized that, while it was still hard being without Ethan, she was no longer alone. She had built a community around her friends, neighbors, and even the simple connections she had made along the way. Life was different, but it wasn't empty. The future stretched before her, full of possibilities. And as she sat there, surrounded by the quiet hum of life moving forward, she knew that whatever came next, she would face it with strength, resilience, and the love of a son who had grown into someone amazing. And for that, Lily Carter felt truly blessed. As the weeks went by, Lily began to feel more at peace with the changes in her life. Ethan's absence, while still a difficult adjustment, no longer consumed her thoughts. The house, once filled with the constant sound of his footsteps, had settled into a quieter rhythm. Lily embraced this new chapter, using the extra time to focus on herself in ways she hadn't been able to for years. Painting, once a distant dream, became her refuge. Every stroke of the brush allowed her to express feelings she had never quite put into words: grief, hope, pride, and all the complex emotions that came with raising a son on her own. She began creating a collection of small works, each reflecting a piece of her journey: a portrait of a single mother holding her child, a landscape of a city at sunset, a still life of a bowl of fruit that reminded her of simpler days. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The canvas gave her a way to process the emotions that had long been bottled up inside. One afternoon, as she stood in front of her easel, lost in thought and in the movements of her brush, the sound of the doorbell rang out, snapping her back to reality. She wiped her hands on a rag and went to answer it. To her surprise, it was Mrs. Johnson. Her neighbor stood on the doorstep, holding a plate of freshly baked cookies, a hesitant look on her face. "Lily," Mrs. Johnson began, her voice a little softer than before. I thought you might like these. I baked them this morning. Figured I'd bring you some. You know, as a thank you for the other day." Lily blinked, caught off guard by the unexpected gesture. Mrs. Johnson had always been a little distant, her interactions with Lily often cold and critical. But this was different. The sight of the cookies in Mrs. Johnson's hand, warm and inviting, felt like a small but significant olive branch. "That's very kind of you," Lily said, surprised but grateful. "Thank you. I didn't want to intrude," Mrs. Johnson continued, her eyes flickering to the paintings on the walls inside Lily's home. "I see you've been busy with your art. You've really got a talent there, Lily. I had no idea you were such an artist." Lily smiled, a little shyly. "It's something I've always wanted to do, but never had time for. I'm just finding my way." Mrs. Johnson took a deep breath, as though gathering courage. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I've been thinking a lot about our last conversation. The way I spoke to you and to Ethan. I didn't mean to make you feel like you weren't doing enough. You've raised a wonderful son. I see that now. And I respect that." Lily's heart softened. She had never expected Mrs. Johnson to apologize, let alone acknowledge the strain between them. But here she was, offering a genuine apology and, in doing so, opening the door to something new, a potential friendship, perhaps. "Thank you, Mrs. Johnson," Lily said, her voice full of sincerity. "That means a lot to me. I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but I appreciate you reaching out." The two women stood there for a moment, a quiet understanding settling between them. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation, but it was a step forward. And for Lily, that was enough. Later that evening, as Lily sat in her living room sipping tea and reading a book, her phone buzzed with a new message. She glanced at it and smiled when she saw that it was from Ethan. "Ethan, Hey Mom. Just wanted to let you know I aced my final. I'm officially done with my first semester. Miss you. Let's chat soon. Lily's smile widened as she quickly typed back a message. Lily, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Can't wait to hear all about it. I miss you too, sweetheart. She set the phone down on the table, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. The distance between them felt a little smaller with every text, every call. Even though he was far away, she knew that he was thriving, and that brought her an immense sense of peace. She leaned back in her chair, reflecting on how far they both had come. There was a time when she had feared that being a single mother would somehow limit her son's potential, that the lack of a father figure would leave a gap in his life. But watching him grow into a young man, so full of promise and determination, she knew that her fears had been unfounded. And in the quiet of her home, surrounded by the colors of her paintings and the love of her son, Lily realized something profound. They had made it through everything together. The hardships, the judgments, the fears, it hadn't broken them. It had only made them stronger. A sense of gratitude washed over her. She had raised a strong, independent young man who was carving his own path in the world. And in turn, he had given her the strength to find her own way as well. The future, though uncertain, was full of possibilities. With every passing day, Lily felt more and more at peace with the path she had chosen. She no longer needed validation from others. She had built her life on love, resilience, and the unwavering bond she shared with Ethan. As the evening deepened and the stars began to twinkle outside her window, Lily took a deep breath, letting go of any lingering doubts. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was ready. She had come this far, and with the love of her son and the strength she had found within herself, there was nothing she couldn't face. The world might still have its judgments, but inside her home, there was only love, warmth, and the quiet certainty that everything would be okay. The next few months passed in a blur, each day blending into the next as Lily settled into a new rhythm. Ethan's calls and texts became a regular part of her life, and though his absence was still deeply felt, she found herself growing more comfortable with the quiet, learning how to fill the space with new routines and activities. There were times, late at night, when she would sit alone in the living room, a book in hand, but her mind drifting, and she would miss him terribly. But as the weeks wore on, those moments grew fewer. Lily was rediscovering herself. And in doing so, she found that her life was far from empty. Lily had continued painting, and with every new piece, she found herself diving deeper into her art. Her small collection was starting to take shape, and she even began considering showing some of her work at a local gallery. It was a big step for her, putting herself and her art out there for others to see, but the more she worked, the more she realized that it wasn't just about the art itself. It was about the act of creation, the way it allowed her to process her emotions, to explore parts of herself she hadn't fully understood. It had become an important part of who she was, something she was proud of. One weekend, while she was at the local farmer's market picking up some fresh produce, she bumped into Sarah Miller, her friendly neighbor. It had been a few weeks since their last coffee together, and seeing Sarah again felt like a welcome reminder that life was moving forward, one step at a time. "Hey, Lily." Sarah greeted her with a smile as she picked up a basket of strawberries. "Have you been? I was hoping we could catch up again soon. I've been meaning to ask about that painting project you've been working on." Lily smiled warmly, glad to see her friend again. "I've been doing well. Really well, actually. My art's been keeping me busy, but in a good way." She paused for a moment, considering. "You know, I've been thinking about showing some of my work at the local gallery. I'm still a bit nervous about it, but I think it's time." Sarah's eyes lit up. "That's amazing, Lily. You should definitely do it. Your paintings are beautiful. and you deserve to have people see them. You're so talented. Lily chuckled, feeling a rush of gratitude for Sarah's encouragement. Thanks, Sarah. That means a lot. I'm a bit nervous, but I'm also excited. I feel like it's something I've been waiting to do for a long time. The two women continued chatting about art and life, catching up on everything that had happened in the past few weeks. Sarah shared her own news about a new project at work, and Lily found herself laughing at the small, everyday moments that made life so rich. It wasn't the same as having Ethan there, but it was a reminder that she wasn't alone. She had friends, connections, and a community that cared about her. Later that day, after a long, leisurely stroll through the market, Lily returned home with a basket full of fresh vegetables and fruits. As she unpacked the groceries, she received a message from Ethan. Ethan, hey Mom, I'm thinking about coming home for a weekend visit next month. I miss you and I want to spend some time with you. Is that okay? Lily's heart skipped a beat and she quickly typed back. Lily, of course, sweetheart. I'd love to have you home. We'll make it a special weekend. She set the phone down, her smile growing wider as she thought about the upcoming visit. The idea of seeing Ethan again, of spending time with him in their home, filled her with a joy she hadn't realized she was missing. Even though he was growing up and becoming more independent by the day, the thought of having him back, even for a short while, made her feel complete in a way she hadn't felt in months. Over the next few weeks, Lily threw herself into preparations. She wanted to make Ethan's visit special, to show him how much she appreciated him, how proud she was of everything he was achieving. She cleaned the house, baked his favorite cookies, and even picked up a new set of paints for him, something he had always wanted, but never quite gotten around to buying. The day Ethan arrived, Lily felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. As she stood at the door, waiting for him to pull up, she could hardly contain her anticipation. When she finally heard the sound of his car in the driveway, she rushed to the door, and there he was, tall, confident, and with that familiar smile that made her heart swell. Mom, Ethan called out, dropping his bags and pulling her into a tight hug. I missed you. I missed you too, sweetheart, Lily said, holding him close, her arms around him like she never wanted to let go. They spent the weekend catching up, reminiscing about old times, and talking about everything that had happened in the past few months. Ethan filled her in on his life at college, his classes, his new friends, his struggles and triumphs. Lily listened intently, offering her support and advice whenever he needed it, just as she always had. One evening after dinner, they sat out on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The air was cool, the stars starting to twinkle in the sky, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. Mom, Ethan said, breaking the comfortable silence, I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for me. You've always been there, no matter what. You made me who I am today, and I'm really grateful. Lily's heart swelled, and she smiled softly. You don't have to thank me, Ethan. I've always done my best for you. And I'm so proud of the person you've become. Ethan leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. I know, but still, I don't think I ever said it enough. I appreciate you, Mom, more than you know. Tears welled in Lily's eyes as she reached out to squeeze his hand. I'm proud of you, too. You've grown into such a strong, kind man. You've always been my greatest achievement, Ethan. They sat there in the quiet of the evening, side by side, no need for words. Lily realized in that moment that no matter where life took them, no matter how far apart they were, their bond would never fade. They were always connected, always there for each other. And as the stars filled the sky above them, Lily felt a deep sense of contentment. She had raised a son who was strong, independent, and full of potential. She had built a life for herself, one filled with love, creativity, and purpose. And though the future would always hold uncertainties, she knew that whatever came next, she would face it with courage. Surrounded by the love of her son and the strength she had found within herself. The journey had been long, but it had been worth every moment. And for the first time in a long while, Lily felt ready for whatever the future held. As the weekend came to a close, the reality of Ethan's departure loomed over them both. The time had flown by, and despite the laughter and the shared memories, Lily could feel the bittersweetness of letting him go once again. The morning of Ethan's departure, after a final breakfast together, they stood by the front door. Lily tried to keep her emotions in check, but she knew it was difficult for both of them. Ethan's smile was warm, but there was a trace of sadness in his eyes too. He had enjoyed being home, surrounded by the comfort of his old life, and it had reminded him of just how much he missed his mother. "Thanks for an amazing weekend, Mom," Ethan said, lifting his bag from the floor. "It was exactly what I needed." "I'm glad you came," Lily replied, her voice thick with emotion. She leaned in and gave him a long hug, holding him tighter than usual, afraid of the next stretch of time without him. "You know I'm always here for you, right? No matter what happens, I'm just a phone call away." Ethan nodded, his arms wrapping around her. "I know, Mom. And I'm always here for you too." As they stepped outside, Ethan loaded his things into the car, ready to head back to school. But before he got in, he turned to his mother with a thoughtful look on his face. "Hey, Mom," he said, his tone serious but full of affection. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other day, about how we're both always here for each other. I get it now. And I just want you to know that I'm proud of you too. You've made it through so much. And you've shown me what it really means to be strong. I'm not just learning from books or professors, I'm learning from you." Lily's heart swelled with pride and a deep sense of love. Her eyes welled up, but she quickly wiped away the tears, not wanting to be the one to break down in front of him. "Thank you, Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. "You've made me so proud every day, and I always will be proud of you." With one last look, Ethan got into his car, giving her a wave before pulling away. Lily stood there in the driveway, watching him go, a mix of emotions swirling inside her. As much as she wished he could stay, she knew this was the way it was meant to be. He was ready for the world, just as she had prepared him to be. And while she would always miss him, she also knew that this was just the beginning of his journey. The house felt quieter than ever when Ethan left, but Lily wasn't sad anymore. She didn't feel the loneliness that she had feared in the past. Instead, she felt a sense of pride, a deep pride in the fact that her son had found his path and was walking it with confidence. She had given him everything she could, and he was going to be just fine. In the days that followed, Lily focused on her work and her art, staying busy but also taking time for herself. She had always been so focused on Ethan's needs, on his future, that she had put her own on the back burner. But now, with the freedom of space and time, she could finally focus on what she wanted. The gallery she had been considering for her art exhibition reached out one afternoon, and before she knew it, Lily was preparing her first solo show. It was a momentous occasion for her, an opportunity to showcase her work, her passion, her heart. She had spent months working toward this, and the idea of sharing her art with the world filled her with excitement and a little bit of nervousness. As the day of the exhibition drew nearer, Lily continued to paint, each piece telling a part of her story, a piece of her soul. She painted scenes of motherhood, of strength, of resilience, of love that had been tested but had never wavered. Her work reflected the journey she had taken as a single mother and the healing she had gone through after years of doubt and uncertainty. The night of the exhibition, she stood nervously at the entrance, greeting guests as they admired her work. Ethan had called earlier in the day, proud of his mother and excited for her big night. I can't wait to see pictures. Mom, he said. I know you're going to blow them away. Lily smiled, her heart swelling with love. I'll send you pictures, don't worry. As the evening wore on, Lily found herself enveloped in the warmth of the gallery. People admired her work, complimenting her on the strength and beauty reflected in each piece. It was everything she had dreamed of her art, her voice finally being heard. As the event came to a close, the gallery owner approached her, smiling. Lily, your work is incredible. You've truly captured something special. We'd love to keep showcasing your pieces in the future. Lily couldn't help but smile, overwhelmed by the support and recognition she was receiving. She had worked so hard to get to this point. And now, standing there among strangers and friends alike, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had done it. She had taken that leap, and it had paid off. Walking home that night, Lily felt a profound sense of peace. The house was still quiet, but it no longer felt empty. It felt like a place where she could grow, where she could continue to create and be herself, without apology. As she walked through the door and sat down on the couch, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Ethan. Ethan, I'm so proud of you, Mom. I knew you had it in you. You're amazing. Lily smiled, her heart full. Lily, thank you, sweetheart. You inspire me every day. I love you. Ethan, love you too. Can't wait to see you again soon. Lily put the phone down and took a deep breath, her heart full of gratitude for the incredible journey she had been on and the one that lay ahead. She had raised her son to be strong and independent, and in doing so, she had found her own strength. Life was full of challenges, but Lily was ready for whatever came next. With Ethan's love and the newfound joy of her art, she knew she could face anything. And for the first time in a long time, Lily felt truly at home, in her own skin, in her own life. And that, she realized, was all she had ever needed. Months passed, and Lily continued to immerse herself in her work, both as an artist and as a woman rediscovering her own path. Her art exhibition had sparked something inside her, a confidence she hadn't known she was missing. She began taking on more commissions, painting portraits for friends and even strangers who admired her work. Her name was starting to get recognition in the local art community, and every time she picked up a paintbrush, she felt the weight of all the years she had spent doubting herself lift a little more. One day, while working on a new piece in her studio, she received a call that caught her off guard. It was from Ethan. Hey, Mom. His voice crackled through the phone, filled with excitement. You'll never guess what happened. Lily set her brush down, a smile tugging at her lips. What happened? Sweetheart, I got an internship offer. Ethan's voice was full of joy. It's with a tech company here in the city. It's huge, Mom. It's exactly what I wanted. I don't even know how to process this right now. They want me to start right after the semester ends. Lily's heart swelled with pride. Her son had worked so hard, and now, his efforts were paying off in ways she could hardly have imagined. That's incredible, Ethan. I knew you'd get there. You've been putting in so much work, and it's all coming together. I can't believe it, honestly, Ethan said, his voice softening. I'm so glad I've made you proud. You've always been my biggest cheerleader, Mom. You taught me to go after what I want, no matter how big the challenge. Lily's eyes filled with tears, not from sadness, but from overwhelming love. You've made me proud every single day, Ethan. You've always had the drive and the heart to do great things. And now it's all falling into place. They spent a few more minutes on the phone, Ethan telling her about the company and his excitement for what lay ahead. But as the conversation ended, Lily sat quietly in her studio, reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this moment. Ethan had always been her source of strength, but now she saw that he was finding his own. He was becoming the man she had always hoped he would be, confident, driven, and ready to take on the world. But more than that, he had become someone who saw the value in hard work, in persistence, and in following your passions. Lily knew that his success was not just the result of his talents, but also of the love and guidance she had given him. As the months rolled on and Ethan started his internship, life in Lily's home continued to evolve. The house, still quiet without Ethan's presence, no longer felt empty. It had become a space where she could truly be herself. Her art continued to thrive, and she found herself preparing for a larger exhibition at a bigger gallery. The success from her previous show had opened new doors, and she was excited about what the future held. But beyond her career, beyond her art, Lily found joy in the simple things. She spent weekends with Sarah, going on long walks, discussing life, and sharing stories. She took evening classes to learn new skills, from cooking to photography, things she had always wanted to try but never had the time for. She realized that, in many ways, she was living the life she had once dreamed of, one filled with purpose, fulfillment, and independence. Then, one evening, after a particularly long day of painting, Lily received another message from Ethan. This one felt different. It was more than just a quick text. Ethan, hey Mom. I've been thinking a lot about everything lately. About how you've always supported me, even when things were tough. You've been through so much, and I don't think I ever truly appreciated it. But I see now how strong you are, how much you've given to me. I just want you to know that I'm grateful. Not just for everything you did for me growing up, but for everything you continue to do. You're incredible, Mom. I hope one day I can be even half the person you are. Lily read the message twice, the words sinking in, each one carrying a weight of emotion that made her heart flutter. Her son had come so far, and the love he expressed was a reflection of the bond they shared, the kind of love that only grows stronger with time. With tears in her eyes, Lily responded, her fingers typing the words carefully. Lily, you've always been my greatest accomplishment, Ethan. Watching you grow into the man you are today is more than I could ever have hoped for. You've made me proud every single day. I love you so much, and I will always be here for you no matter what. After hitting send, Lily leaned back in her chair, looking at the canvas in front of her. It was a new piece she had been working on, an abstract representation of her journey, a mixture of bold, vibrant colors that symbolized the highs and lows, the struggles and triumphs of her life. In that moment, she understood. She had built something beautiful, something lasting. Not just in her art, but in the life she had created, the family she had raised, and the woman she had become. The quiet house, the stillness, it was no longer a symbol of loneliness. It was a space of peace, of reflection, and of possibility. And she was ready for whatever came next. Ethan would always be a part of her heart, but she had also found her own path, and it was leading her to places she had never imagined. For the first time in years, Lily felt truly free. She was living for herself now, her art, her passions, her friendships, and it was everything she had ever hoped for. And with that, Lily picked up her paintbrush again, ready to continue the work she had started so many years ago. The future was hers to create, just as she had always known it would be. As the weeks passed, Lily found herself settling into this new phase of life more confidently. Her art was flourishing, her personal growth was palpable, and her relationship with Ethan continued to evolve, even from a distance. She'd grown to cherish the quiet moments in her house, the sound of paintbrushes on canvas, and the time spent in her own thoughts. She had transformed her living space into a sanctuary, a place where she could truly be herself without needing to apologize for who she was or where she came from. Ethan's internship went exceptionally well. He'd grown more independent, handling his responsibilities with an ease that Lily had always hoped for. Every time they spoke, she could hear the pride in his voice as he shared stories of his achievements, whether it was a successful project at work or a breakthrough moment in his personal growth. He was thriving. And Lily couldn't have been prouder of the man he was becoming. But even as he flourished, she could sense that he missed her. Their conversations, though fewer as he became busier, still carried that warmth, that connection that time and distance couldn't break. They continued to support each other, each time they spoke feeling like a lifeline to something constant and true. Lily had always been his anchor, and though he was now finding his way in the world, she could still see that her presence, even from afar, meant the world to him. One evening, as Lily was preparing dinner, her phone buzzed on the counter. She wiped her hands on her apron, wiped a bit of flour off the counter, and picked it up. It was a message from Ethan. "Ethan, hey Mom. I've been thinking a lot, and I want to come visit again soon. I miss you, and I want to talk. It's been a crazy few months, but I want to catch up with you properly. Can we set something up?" Lily smiled, her heart swelling at the thought of seeing him again. He'd been so focused on his career and school, and now he wanted to reconnect in person. She quickly typed back, "Lily, of course. Sweetheart, I've missed you too. I'd love for you to come visit. How about next weekend? We can spend some time together, just like old times." She hit send and set the phone down, feeling a deep sense of joy. A few minutes later, Ethan replied with an enthusiastic thumbs-up emoji and a simple message. "Ethan, next weekend it is. I can't wait." Over the following days, Lily felt a sense of anticipation build within her. It had been months since she had seen Ethan in person, and though they'd stayed close through calls and texts, there was something irreplaceable about the warmth of his presence in the same room. She wanted to make his visit special, something that would remind him of home, of the love and support she had always given him. She began planning for his arrival, preparing his favorite meals, and even putting a fresh coat of paint on the guest room. She picked up a few things from the store, snacks, his favorite drinks, and a few little gifts she thought he might like. In many ways, she was preparing not just for his visit, but for another chapter in their relationship, one where they were both standing taller, stronger, and more secure in who they were. Finally, the day came. As Lily heard the familiar sound of Ethan's car pulling into the driveway, her heart fluttered with excitement. She walked to the door, her steps light and quick, and opened it to find him standing there, his familiar grin plastered across his face. "Mom," Ethan exclaimed, wrapping his arms around her in a tight hug. Lily hugged him back, feeling the warmth of his embrace and the sense of completeness that had always come with his presence. "I've missed you so much," she said, pulling back to look at him. He had grown, both in stature and in maturity. He looked older, more confident, but there was still that familiar spark in his eyes that made her heart ache with love. "Same here, Mom," Ethan said, his voice soft. "It's good to be home." As they spent the weekend together, catching up over meals, going for walks in the neighborhood, and reminiscing about the past, Lily felt a deep sense of peace. She marveled at how much they had both changed, Ethan, now stepping into the world with purpose and ambition, and Lily, having rediscovered her own passions, her own strength. They had each gone through their own struggles, but they had always been there for each other, supporting one another through thick and thin. On the last night of his visit, after a long day spent talking and laughing, Ethan turned to his mother as they sat together on the porch, watching the stars twinkle above. "Mom," he began, his voice a little quieter than usual. "I've been thinking about something, and I just want to say it. I think I've finally figured out what I want to do with my life. I've been pushing myself so hard, trying to meet everyone's expectations, but I realize now that the most important thing is to do what makes me happy. I want to find work that I love, not just something that looks good on paper. I want to make a real difference in my own way." Lily looked at him, her heart swelling with pride. "Ethan, that's the most important thing. I'm so proud of you for realizing that. Doing what makes you happy, following your heart, is the only way to live. I always knew you had it in you. Ethan smiled, his eyes filled with gratitude. I've learned so much from you, Mom. You've always taught me to follow my passion, to be true to myself. And now I know what that means. Thank you for being there for me through everything. Lily felt a tear slip down her cheek. A tear of joy, of pride, of love. She had always known that Ethan was capable of great things, but hearing him express his thoughts and dreams so openly was a moment she would cherish forever. I love you, Ethan. You are everything I've ever hoped for, she whispered. I love you too, Mom, Ethan replied, his voice steady and full of emotion. And I always will. As the night grew darker, the two of them sat in silence, surrounded by the peaceful hum of the world around them. Lily felt a sense of completion, a sense of fulfillment. Her journey, their journey, had been difficult, but it had been worth every step. They had faced the challenges of life with resilience, and now they were both standing strong, confident in who they were and where they were headed. And as Lily looked at Ethan, her heart full, she knew that no matter where life took them next, they would always have each other. And that, more than anything else, was enough. The weekend passed in a blur of warmth and laughter, as Ethan and Lily shared stories, cooked meals together, and enjoyed the simplicity of just being in each other's company. The house, which had once felt so quiet after Ethan's departure, now seemed to hum with life again. For those few days, it felt like time had slowed down, allowing them to savor the moments they had. On Sunday afternoon, as Ethan packed his bags and prepared to leave, there was a quiet tension between them, as if they both were trying to prolong the inevitable. Lily helped him carry his things to the car, and they stood together for a moment in the driveway, the familiar space feeling different this time, filled with the weight of everything they had shared. Are you sure you have everything? Lily asked, her hands lingering on the straps of his backpack, checking if he had everything packed. Ethan gave a soft chuckle and nodded. I think I've got it all. You know me, I tend to overpack. Lily smiled, her heart full of pride. I know you do. Always prepared for everything. He looked at her then, a bit more serious than before. I've been thinking, Mom, about what we talked about last night, about pursuing what makes me happy. I'm going to keep pushing myself, but in a way that feels true to who I am. I know I've still got a lot to figure out, but I've learned so much from you. I've realized I don't have to have everything figured out right now. I just have to keep trying, and that's enough. Lily's eyes filled with tears again. She'd always known Ethan was capable of greatness, but hearing him speak with such clarity and confidence filled her heart with a joy that words couldn't fully express. You've got a wise soul, Ethan, she whispered, wiping a tear from her cheek. I'm so proud of you. And you're right, life doesn't come with a perfect map. We all figure it out as we go. Just remember to always be true to yourself, no matter where you end up. Ethan smiled, his expression tender. I will, Mom. I promise. They stood there for a moment, neither of them wanting to break the silence. The world around them seemed to fade into the background as they shared this quiet, powerful understanding. Time had passed, and yet the bond between them had only grown stronger. With a sigh, Ethan opened the car door, but before he got in, he turned to his mother once more. You know, I'm only a call away, right? I'll always be here if you need me. And I'll visit more often. I promise. Lily nodded, her heart swelling with love. I know, sweetheart. And I'm only a call away, too. I'll always be here for you. With one last lingering hug, Ethan climbed into the car and waved as he drove off, the car fading into the distance. Lily stood in the driveway for a moment, watching him go. She felt a sense of fulfillment, a sense of peace. Ethan had found his path, and she had played a part in helping him get there. She had given him the tools to be strong, independent, and resilient, and now he was stepping into the world, ready to make his mark. As she walked back into the house, the quiet returned, but it wasn't the same silence that had once filled the space with loneliness. It was a peaceful kind of quiet, the kind that comes with knowing your child is growing into the person they are meant to be. The house no longer felt empty, but rather, it felt full of possibility. Over the following weeks, Lily continued to pour herself into her art. Her paintings took on a new depth as she explored the themes of love, resilience, and the beauty of transformation. She began working on a larger collection, one that would represent the journey of both herself and Ethan, a testament to their bond and the life they had built together. She could feel the creative spark igniting within her again, and with each new stroke of the brush, she felt more connected to herself than ever before. She also started to spend more time with Sarah and the other friends she had made. The once quiet evenings were now filled with laughter, conversation, and new connections. Lily had found a community of people who supported her, and she had learned to embrace the joy of simply being present with others. As the year went on, Ethan visited more frequently, each time reconnecting with Lily in new ways. They would spend weekends together, exploring the city, sharing meals, or simply talking about the future. Each visit reminded them both of the unbreakable bond they shared. It wasn't just about the past anymore, it was about building a future, together and apart, in a way that honored both their independence and their connection. One afternoon, as Lily was working on a new painting, the phone rang again. This time, it was Ethan, his voice brimming with excitement. "Mom," he said, "I've got some news. I've been thinking more about my career. And I've decided to start working on a personal project, something that's always been on my mind. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think it's the right move." Lily smiled, feeling a wave of pride wash over her. "That sounds amazing, Ethan. Whatever it is, I know you'll do great things. You've got the heart and the drive to make it happen." "Thanks, Mom," he said, his voice warm. "I'm really excited about it, and I know I can count on your support. I wouldn't be where I am today without you." The conversation continued, but as they spoke, Lily reflected on how far they had come, how much both of them had grown. She had spent years supporting Ethan, guiding him, and loving him unconditionally, but now as he stood on his own, ready to take on the world, she realized that her role as his mother had shifted. It wasn't just about guiding him anymore, it was about supporting him as he walked his own path, with his own dreams, his own challenges, and his own victories. And as she hung up the phone and looked at the work in front of her, Lily realized that her journey, too, was far from over. She had found a new sense of purpose and joy, both as a mother and as an individual. Life would continue to throw its challenges their way, but with each passing day, Lily knew they were both more than capable of handling whatever came next. With a deep breath, she picked up her paintbrush again, ready to continue her work, ready to embrace whatever the future held. The journey was ongoing, but for the first time in a long time, Lily knew that the path she was walking was exactly the one she was meant to be on. Banda.noi. Continue. ChatGPT.noi. As the months continued to pass, Lily's life took on a new rhythm. Her work in the art world gained more traction, and her exhibition became more than just a local affair. She was invited to showcase her paintings in galleries across the city, with each new opportunity bringing a deeper sense of fulfillment. She had finally found her place, not just as a mother, but as a woman who had reclaimed her passions and her creativity. And with each new painting, she found a part of herself she hadn't known was missing. Ethan, too, had embraced the changes in his life. His personal project, the one he had shared with Lily on the phone, had become a labor of love. It started as a small initiative, something he wanted to try in his spare time, but it grew quickly into something much bigger. His passion for technology, paired with his desire to make a positive impact, led him to create an innovative platform that would help small businesses connect with customers in new and meaningful ways. It wasn't just a business venture, it was a way for him to give back, to create something that could truly make a difference. Every time Lily spoke to Ethan about his progress, she felt an overwhelming sense of pride. He had grown into a man with purpose, not just chasing success, but chasing something that mattered to him, something that aligned with his values. He had become someone who wasn't afraid to step outside the box, to take risks, and to follow his own path. One weekend, when Ethan came home for a visit, he sat down with Lily over coffee in the kitchen. His face was alight with excitement, and she could tell he had something important to share. "I've been working on this for months," Ethan began, his voice full of enthusiasm. "And now it's ready. I've partnered with a few people to launch the platform officially. It's live now. It's a small start, but it's real. I feel like it's going to be something big." Lily set her coffee cup down and looked at him, her heart swelling with pride. "Ethan, that's amazing. You've put everything you have into this, and now it's paying off. I always knew you were capable of great things." "I couldn't have done it without you," Ethan said, his tone sincere. "You've been my inspiration, Mom. You've taught me that following your passion is the only way to go. I don't think I would have been brave enough to take this leap if it weren't for you. You've shown me what it means to be bold, to chase what matters, no matter what." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she heard his words. She had always been there for him, guiding him through the challenges of life. But now she realized how much he had taken from her, not just in terms of advice, but in strength. She had given him the foundation to go out into the world, and now he was using it to build something that mattered. It was a full-circle moment for her. "You're the one who did the hard work, Ethan," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've always had the heart and the determination to do great things. I'm just so proud of the person you've become. I always knew you'd make a difference." The two of them sat in the kitchen for hours, talking about the future and what lay ahead. Ethan shared his hopes for the platform, his ideas for expansion, and the way he wanted to use his success to help others. Lily listened intently, offering her support and encouragement, as she had done so many times before. But this time, there was something different in her. She wasn't just the supportive mother, she was a woman who had lived through her own journey, and who had watched her son become someone who was now shaping his own future. It was a beautiful realization. Over the following months, their bond grew stronger. Ethan's platform flourished, drawing attention from businesses and clients, and Lily's art continued to gain recognition. She was invited to collaborate with other artists, her work becoming a part of exhibitions in prestigious galleries. She even began receiving invitations to teach workshops for aspiring artists. It was a full-circle moment for her, to see her art not only transform her own life, but to become something that could inspire others as well. Though they both were busy with their respective lives, their connection remained constant. They spoke regularly on the phone, exchanged updates, and supported each other as they always had. Lily still found herself missing the day-to-day moments with Ethan, the small, mundane interactions that had once filled their home. But she knew that this was the natural course of life. He was carving out his own future, just as she had done, and in doing so, he was teaching her something new about independence, growth, and the power of letting go. One summer evening, as Lily was sitting in her studio, the soft glow of the setting sun streaming through the windows, she received a call from Ethan. This time, his voice was more excited than ever. "Mom, I did it. The platform is getting its first major partnership with a big company. This is it. This is the breakthrough I've been waiting for." Lily's heart skipped a beat. "That's incredible, Ethan. I knew you were going to do it. You've worked so hard for this, and now it's all coming together." Ethan laughed, his voice full of joy. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You've always been there to encourage me, to remind me to keep going even when it felt impossible." You've been my rock. And now, this is our success." Lily felt the tears start to form as she took a deep breath. "This is all you, Ethan. I'm so proud of you. You've built this from the ground up, and now you're changing lives. You're exactly where you're meant to be." The call ended, but Lily sat there for a long time, reflecting on everything that had happened. She had helped Ethan become the man he was today, but he had also helped her rediscover herself in ways she hadn't expected. He had been the inspiration for her to pursue her art, and now his success was a reminder of how far they had both come. As Lily sat in her studio, looking at the canvas in front of her, she knew that this was just the beginning. The future was full of possibilities for both her and Ethan. Life had a way of surprising them, but together, they had learned that they were more than capable of facing whatever came next. And for the first time in years, Lily felt truly free. She had raised a son who was now following his own path, and in doing so, she had found the courage to follow her own. It was a beautiful thing to realize that, in the end, their journeys had always been intertwined, each one shaping and lifting the other. No matter where life took them next, Lily knew that she and Ethan would continue to stand by each other. Always supporting, always loving, always growing. As the months passed, life seemed to fall into a beautiful rhythm for both Lily and Ethan. Their individual successes, though distinct, were interconnected by the bond they shared. Ethan's platform, now flourishing, had expanded into new markets, and his dedication had begun to shape the tech industry in ways he hadn't imagined. Lily's artwork, which had once been an outlet for her emotions, had turned into a career that allowed her to inspire others. Whether through her gallery exhibitions or the workshops she taught to aspiring artists, it was clear that they were both living their dreams, albeit in different ways, and yet their journeys remained inextricably linked. Lily found herself waking up each morning with a renewed sense of purpose. She had a busy schedule, but it was the kind of busy that filled her with energy instead of exhaustion. She still spent hours painting, pouring herself into each piece as though it were a new part of her story, her triumphs, her challenges, her victories. Her studio had become her sanctuary, and she welcomed the hours spent immersed in the strokes of her paintbrush. It wasn't just her art that had changed. Lily's home had become a reflection of her transformation. The quiet, empty spaces she once feared had been filled with memories and new experiences. Each corner of the house now reflected who she had become, an independent, strong, and self-assured woman who had learned to live for herself, but who would always be there for her son. Ethan's visits, though infrequent, were always filled with warmth. When he came home, it was as though time paused for a moment. They would cook together, just like they used to when he was younger, and share stories about the lives they were building. Lily was amazed at how much he had grown in the time they had been apart. He was no longer the boy she had raised, he was a man, with his own dreams and aspirations, his own path. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, watching the stars twinkle in the sky, Ethan turned to Lily with a thoughtful expression on his face. "Mom," he said slowly, "I've been thinking about everything. About how you've always supported me, even when things were tough. You've taught me so much about life, about resilience, about following my heart. And now, I want to do something for you. Something that shows how much I appreciate everything you've done for me." Lily looked at him, her heart swelling with love. "Ethan, you've already given me everything I need. Just seeing you succeed, seeing you happy, is all I've ever wanted." Ethan shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "No, Mom. It's more than that. I've realized that I want to do more than just succeed in my own career. I want to help you succeed too. So I've been thinking about ways to take your art to the next level. Maybe it's time for you to showcase your work outside of our little community, maybe even internationally. You've built something incredible, and I think the world deserves to see it." Lily's breath caught in her throat. She had dreamed of having her work recognized outside of the local galleries, but the idea of stepping into a larger, more competitive art world had always intimidated her. "Ethan, I don't know what to say," she whispered, overwhelmed by his thoughtfulness. "I never expected anything like this. I've always wanted to share my art with the world, but I thought maybe I wasn't ready. Or that it was too late." "Mom, it's never too late," Ethan said, his voice full of certainty. "You've always been ready, and I want to help you make it happen. I think it's time to push your boundaries, just like I did with my platform. Together, we can make it happen. I'll help with the logistics, with getting you into the right circles. I've got connections now, and I want to use them to help you take the next step." Lily's heart fluttered with emotion. The idea of expanding her work, of stepping into a world she had once only dreamed about, felt like a new adventure, a fresh start in her artistic career. And having Ethan, her son, supporting her in this way made it feel all the more possible. "Okay," Lily said, her voice steady with newfound resolve. "Let's do it. Let's take that next step together." They spent the next few weeks working tirelessly on the plan. Ethan used his connections to introduce her to several well-known curators and art galleries in the city. He even helped her set up meetings with international agents who could help her secure exhibitions in other countries. Lily's art took on new dimensions as she prepared for these new opportunities. The world suddenly seemed much bigger, much more open to what she had to offer. During this time, Ethan's platform continued to grow, becoming a widely recognized tool for small businesses. But no matter how busy he became, he always made time for his mother. He was there for every meeting, every decision about her future, guiding her with the same support and encouragement she had always given him. The night of her first international exhibition arrived. It was a moment Lily had never imagined would come to fruition so soon, but there she was, standing in a grand gallery in London, surrounded by people from the art world, admiring her work. It was surreal, exhilarating, and deeply humbling. She marveled at how far she had come, from a woman uncertain of her path to an artist whose work was now being celebrated on an international stage. Ethan was there, standing by her side, beaming with pride. He had flown in from the US to be with her for this special moment, just as he had promised. As they stood together among the guests, he whispered, "You did it, Mom. You followed your heart. You didn't let anything stop you." Lily smiled, her heart full. "We did it, Ethan. I couldn't have done it without you." And in that moment, as they both stood there in the glow of the exhibition, Lily realized that this was more than just about art. It was about the journey they had both taken together, the way they had supported each other through their challenges, and how their individual successes had become intertwined, making each of their victories even more meaningful. As the night wore on and the guests continued to admire her paintings, Lily stepped back for a moment to take it all in. She had always dreamed of this, but now she realized it wasn't just about the accolades or the recognition. It was about the journey, the growth, and the bond between her and her son. The future was full of possibilities, and with Ethan by her side, Lily knew that there was nothing they couldn't face, nothing they couldn't achieve. The world was theirs for the taking, and together, they would continue to build something extraordinary. And for the first time in a long time, Lily felt truly at peace. She had found her way, through art, through love, through family, and it was exactly where she was meant to be. As the months passed, Lily's art career soared to new heights. The success of her international exhibition in London had opened doors she had never even dreamed of. She was invited to show her work in other major cities, Paris, New York, even Tokyo, and each new gallery was another confirmation of how far she had come. The art world, which had once seemed so daunting and out of reach, was now welcoming her with open arms, and Lily was thriving. Her relationship with Ethan grew even stronger during this time. Though he was busy with his tech platform and the continued growth of his business, he made it a priority to visit her whenever he could. They would spend weekends together, catching up, sharing their triumphs and challenges, and simply enjoying each other's company. Ethan's success was also steadily growing, and Lily couldn't help but feel immense pride watching him build something meaningful from the ground up. He was still the same thoughtful, compassionate son she had raised, but now he was becoming a true trailblazer in his own right. One day, as they sat together in the kitchen, catching up on their latest projects, Ethan turned to her with an expression that made her pause. "Mom," he began, his voice a little more serious than usual. "I've been thinking about something. About everything we've been able to accomplish together and apart, and I realized that there's something more I want to do. Something I've always wanted to do, but never knew how to go about it." Lily looked at him, intrigued. "What is it, sweetheart?" Ethan took a deep breath before continuing. "I want to give back. You've always taught me to help others, to use whatever I have to make the world a better place. And I think it's time I start focusing on giving back to the community, whether it's through mentorship, scholarships, or helping aspiring entrepreneurs. I want to create opportunities for others, just like you helped create opportunities for me. But I can't do it alone. I want you to be part of this, your knowledge, your experience. I want us to build something that impacts others, just like we've impacted each other." Lily's heart fluttered with emotion. She had always taught Ethan the importance of kindness, of using one's gifts to uplift others, and now he was reflecting those same values in his own life. The thought of creating something together, a legacy that blended both their worlds, was both humbling and inspiring. "I'm proud of you, Ethan," Lily said softly, her voice full of emotion. "I think that's an incredible idea. You're right, this journey we've been on has taught us both a lot. And I'm ready to take this next step with you, to help others and make a difference. You're not just creating success for yourself, you're setting the stage for others to do the same." Ethan smiled, his eyes bright with excitement. "I knew you'd say that, Mom. You've always believed in the power of people coming together to make something bigger than themselves. And I know that together, we can make an impact that lasts." Over the next few months, Lily and Ethan began working on their new venture. It started small, with Ethan using his platform to offer scholarships and mentorship programs for young entrepreneurs, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds. Lily contributed by offering workshops on creativity and personal growth, helping individuals tap into their own potential. They created a partnership that blended both their skills, Ethan's technical expertise and business acumen, and Lily's artistic insight and passion for nurturing others. As the initiative grew, so did the impact it had on the community. Young entrepreneurs began to flourish, supported by the resources and guidance Lily and Ethan had provided. Their success stories were a testament to the power of their combined efforts, and the satisfaction they felt in seeing others succeed was immeasurable. Through this new chapter, Lily realized that the fulfillment she had found in her art wasn't just about her own success. It was about sharing it with others, about leaving a lasting legacy that would inspire future generations. And with Ethan by her side, she knew that together, they were making a real difference. One day, while they were both in the studio, preparing for another round of workshops, Ethan stopped what he was doing and turned to Lily with a serious look on his face. "Mom," he said, his voice soft but filled with gratitude. "I just want to take a moment to thank you again for everything. For always believing in me, for guiding me, for showing me the importance of following my heart. I never could have made it here without you. And now we're making a difference together. This is everything I've ever wanted. And it's all because of you." Lily smiled, the pride in her heart blooming once again. "No, Ethan. You've always had it in you. You've always had the power to change the world. I just helped you see it. And now we're doing it together. This is what I've always dreamed of, making an impact, not just for ourselves, but for others too." As they stood side by side, Looking out at the progress they had made, Lily felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The life she had built with Ethan was nothing short of extraordinary. They had both come so far, and now they were creating something that would outlast them both, a legacy of love, creativity, and giving back. And in that moment, Lily realized that the greatest achievement wasn't the recognition from the art world or the success of Ethan's platform, it was the bond they shared. The way they had supported each other through every challenge, and the way they were now helping others to rise up, just as they had done. The journey they had been on was far from over. But for the first time in her life, Lily knew that wherever it took them, they would face it together, with love, strength, and the unshakable belief that anything was possible when you followed your heart. As the months wore on, the initiative that Lily and Ethan had started together began to gain momentum. The scholarships they offered for young entrepreneurs began to change lives, opening doors that had previously been closed to so many talented individuals. Ethan's platform continued to grow, now serving as a bridge for countless small businesses that were able to thrive through the resources and mentorship they had developed. Lily's workshops, focused on fostering creativity and personal growth, began attracting people from all walks of life. Artists, dreamers, entrepreneurs, and those just seeking guidance on their personal journeys came to learn from her. She realized that her own experience of rediscovering her passion and following her heart resonated deeply with others. Her art, once solely a personal endeavor, had become a tool for others to find their own voice. Lily had also started collaborating with other artists in her community, using her platform to support emerging talents. The once solitary nature of her work had evolved into something much bigger, a network of like-minded people who were using art and creativity to heal, connect, and grow. It was a far cry from the woman who had once feared her art wasn't good enough or that it wouldn't make a difference. One evening, after a particularly successful workshop where she had helped a young artist find the courage to display his work in a local gallery, Lily sat down to reflect on how much her life had changed. She was in her studio, a place now filled with the echoes of laughter, creativity, and the hum of collaboration. The walls were lined with her paintings, but also with pieces from other artists who had come through her doors, each one a reminder of the impact she had made. Ethan had just left to head back to his apartment, and for the first time in a long time, Lily allowed herself a quiet moment of reflection. It was hard to believe how far they had both come. There was a time when she had worried about her son, wondering if he would be okay without a father. But now, watching him confidently step into his own future, using his talents to build something that was changing the lives of others, she knew her worries had been unfounded. And it wasn't just Ethan who had transformed. Lily had found herself again, not just as a mother, but as a woman who had taken ownership of her dreams and her passions. The fear she had once felt about pursuing her art, about stepping into the world of galleries and exhibitions, had disappeared. She had realized that the only limits on her life were the ones she had placed there. By finally letting go of those fears, she had opened herself up to an entire new world of possibilities. But as she sat there, gazing at the paintings around her, something unexpected happened. Lily felt a sense of longing, not for something she didn't already have, but for the next step in her journey. She knew she was capable of more, and she was ready for it. That night, she took out a blank canvas and began to paint, not a single stroke planned out in advance, but instead, letting the colors and shapes come to life on their own. It was a process of pure creation, one that was reflective of everything she had experienced and everything she still hoped to accomplish. Each brushstroke seemed to carry her deeper into herself, revealing more about her growth, her hopes, and her dreams for the future. As she painted, Lily thought about the future, about the next steps for both her and Ethan. She knew there were still challenges to face, still goals to reach, but she wasn't afraid anymore. Together, They had already achieved so much. And individually, they had proven that anything was possible when you had the courage to take that first step, no matter how uncertain the path ahead seemed. When she finished the painting, she stepped back and looked at it, a beautiful mess of colors, emotions, and growth. It was a reflection of everything she had become, everything she had taught herself to embrace. The phone buzzed on the counter, pulling Lily from her thoughts. She picked it up to see a message from Ethan. Ethan, hey, Mom. I've been thinking about what we've built together, what you've built. And I realized that it's not just about our individual successes anymore. It's about what we're doing together, what we're creating together. You've taught me that success isn't just about business or art. It's about making a difference. And that's exactly what we're doing. So, I've been thinking, maybe it's time to expand the initiative. We could create a fund to support young artists and entrepreneurs who need help getting started, people like we were once. What do you think? Lily stared at the message for a moment, the weight of Ethan's words sinking in. This wasn't just about growing their businesses, it was about using their success to lift others up. To create a ripple effect of change that would continue long after they were gone. Lily, that's an incredible idea, Ethan. I've always believed that the best way to give back is to help others create their own paths. I'm in. Let's make it happen. As she sent the message, Lily felt a sense of clarity settle over her. The next chapter of their journey was just beginning, and it wasn't about accolades or recognition. It was about leaving a lasting impact, creating a space where others could thrive the way they had. The following months were filled with meetings, planning, and strategizing as Lily and Ethan worked to expand their initiative. They set up the fund, reached out to mentors, and started offering grants to young artists and entrepreneurs, just as they had once dreamed of. It wasn't easy, but they were committed to helping others pursue their passions, just as they had done. Lily's studio became a hub for creativity and collaboration. Young artists and entrepreneurs came to her for advice, mentorship, and support, and she was more than happy to give it. It felt like a full-circle moment. Just as she had once guided Ethan, she was now helping others navigate their own journeys. One evening, as they prepared for another big fundraiser to support the fund, Lily and Ethan stood together, looking out at the city's skyline. The lights twinkled in the distance, and the air was thick with the promise of something more. I never imagined we'd be here, Mom, Ethan said quietly, his voice filled with awe. I never imagined this kind of impact. I never imagined us doing something like this. Lily smiled, her heart full. It's amazing what happens when you follow your heart. I'm so proud of everything we've built. But this is just the beginning. Together, they had built something more meaningful than any career success or gallery exhibition. They had built a legacy of giving, of nurturing, and of helping others realize their own potential. And as they stood together, looking out at the future they had created, they both knew that this journey, this legacy, would continue for generations to come. The world was full of possibilities, and Lily and Ethan were ready to meet each one together.